Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 18, Sloka 66, Part 78. Sarva-dharmān parityajya, māṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja, ahaṁ sarva-pāpebhyo, mokṣayiṣyāmi śucaḥ. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita is a profound spiritual literature, a condensed version of all the Upanishads. Seeing Arjuna's pathetic condition, his affection towards his friends and relatives, and how he misplaced his sympathy towards his teachers, elders, and other who are gathered on the battlefield. Under the guise of teaching Arjuna, Krishna explained the most secret means, upaya, in this Charma Sloka to all of us. This is the concluding portion of Krishna's teaching. Krishna spent at length on many indirect means like Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. Also Krishna taught us the direct means of Bhakti Yoga, and he pointed out the difficulties and delays involved in adapting any of these paths. Arjuna was perplexed and begged Krishna to show him the way out of the situation. In response, Krishna ultimately gave him a solution which is easiest, quickest, and sure means to get over the grief and to attain him. And that is sarva-dharmān parityajya, māṁ ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja, ahaṁ sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi śucaḥ. To this sloka, we saw various beautiful explanations given by the acharyas. One explanation is that give up the mentality of doership, proprietorship, and the results of your action. Then all your sanchita karmas, which are your moksha virodhi, the obstacles to attain liberation, I will take care of them. Do not fear. Another explanation is Arjuna was worried about performing Bhakti Yoga because there are some hindrances, there are some virodhis which stops him to perform Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Arambha Virodhi. And the only way to get them out, as Arjuna knows, is by performing atonement, parityajya dharmas. And Krishna says, don't worry about that. I will take care of it. Do not fear. And another explanation that we saw is surrendering unto the Lord completely, not for just a particular thing of removing sanchita karma or to remove the obstacles in the path of bhakti. When we surrender to the Lord for a particular purpose, then it is called anga prapatti. When we surrender to the Lord completely, then it is said to be swatantra prapatti. Therefore, his surrender to the Lord was to help him to perform Bhakti Yoga. Whereas the other explanation says that complete surrender means not holding to any other means or upaya other than Krishna alone. We also learned that sarva-dharmān parityajya, to give up everything, all the dharmas, and fully depend on Krishna, doesn't mean that one can do nothing. If all the dharmas has to be given up, then the dharma of guru and disciple, how one must conduct oneself in this world, all has to be given up. The meaning is that, Arjuna, now that you are ready to give up everything, the only means by which you can attain the spiritual world is by surrendering unto me. Then we learnt about what surrendering means. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshatyatiti vishvasaha goptritve varanam tata atma nikshepa karpanye sadvida śaraṇagatihi. Resolve to act only in accordance with the instructions of the Lord, doing things that pleases the Lord. Resolve to avoid all action that displeases the Lord, having absolute faith and confidence that the Lord will surely protect, accepting the Lord as one's only maintainer, complete understanding and firm faith that this Atma is not mine, it is Krishna's. And lastly, coming to a full realization that nothing is mine. Acceptance of absolute impossibility to achieve Krishna by one's own effort, by performing various upayas, karma, jnana and etc. Feeling complete helplessness. Then we learnt about characters and behaviors of a person who is ready to surrender. Moksha, liberation, salvation, however we call, it means leaving the body and attaining the spiritual world. That means death. One cannot return back to the spiritual world with this material body. Therefore, we discussed about death and the mode of death, that there are three specific ways by which the Atma escapes the body. That Atma which is ready to leave this world permanently takes up a particular route by which it reaches the spiritual world. Then we also learnt about what happens at the spiritual world after we reach there. Then we focused on the sarva-pāpebhyo, that is, unless one is free of all the sins, one will not be able to attain the spiritual world. We have sanchita karmas and prarabdha karmas. What happens to these karmas? What happens to the sins that are committed after surrendering? We covered all different aspects of the karmas from part 37 through 42. The death, mode of death, route to spiritual world, what do we do in the spiritual world, were covered in part 33 to 36. Whereas 6 aspects of Śaraṇagati were discussed in part 24 through 30. And then the characteristics of an eligible prapanna discussed in part 31 and 32. Śaraṇagati was presented in part 18 through 23. Whereas Bhakti Yoga we covered from part 12 to part 17. And from part 1 through part 11 we covered various explanation to the Charma Sloka. After understanding the details of sarva-pāpebhyo, when one is ready to commit oneself, then one approaches an acharya. We learned karma, jnana, which leads to bhakti, and bhakti will lead us to the Lord. In the path of Śaraṇagati, one is not depending on any other path other than the Lord's lotus feet alone. But the problem is, the Lord is completely independent. We are not sure when He will accept us. Therefore, the fifth means, which is guaranteed, is Acharya Abhimana. This was covered from part 43 to 49. And then, how do we surrender was discussed through Pancha Samskara, part 50 through 58. Then we learnt about Sishya Lakshana, how an initiated person behave. This was part 59. Then we also learnt about Guru Lakshana in part 60. Then from part 61 through 77, we went through various offenses that must be totally avoided, carefully avoided by those who are initiated. With all that has been shared here so far on this sloka is not complete yet, because the acharyas have poured ocean of explanation to this sloka. But the essence is same. One must surrender unto Krishna, and that is the easiest way for one to attain Krishna. Since Krishna is already there is no need to create him. He is the only means for us. That is siddhopayam. All we have to do as individual is to pick a path by which we can attain him. It could be through bhakti or through prapatti. For us to retain this knowledge of what we have studied so far and to start applying in life, there are three things. One must appeal at the lotus feet of the consort of the Lord, the goddess, Sri Lakshmi or Sita or Radharani, who grants the necessary jnana, knowledge. Number 2, approach a bona fide spiritual master and perform bhakti, prapatti. Number 3, follow established traditions and observe the prescribed austerities. One may ask, God is independent. He may choose whenever He wants to give us liberation. In that case, what is the necessity for us to take initiation? Whether I take initiation or I don't take initiation, it is Lord's choice when He wants to take me. That is very true, that Lord is completely independent, but still He directs the living entity to take a mean before granting him the liberation. If He were to grant moksha to everyone indiscriminately without reference to any adoption of a process, a means, then it may amount to partiality by grouping certain jivatmas to be deserving for moksha and certain to be undeserving. Therefore, it is important that one takes one step towards Krishna by the process of initiation to show that we are ready. Otherwise, there will be a question of on what basis does the Lord liberate a jivatma. A second question may come based on the previous one. If it is the Lord who directs the jivatma to take up a certain mean to attain Him, then it seemed to be it is the Lord's work. In that case, why God should not do this to everyone in the first place itself? And why different times are taken to different person in bestowing His mercy? We hope the question is clear. Prior to this question, we learned that it is the Lord who directs the jivatma in certain ways, in certain path, so that they can finally attain Him. So the question is, it seems to be Lord's work on how things has to go. If that is the case, why not everyone be graced, blessed to surrender, to perform bhakti? Why it happens to some people at certain times only? For some people it never happens. The answer is the living entity has to acquire a certain stage of evolution to be fit enough to receive the divine grace. The rain pours everywhere, but unless and until we dig the well, the water cannot be sustained. We cannot wait for the rain to come and then to dig the well. We have to be well prepared with the well, so when it rains, we are able to receive it. Likewise, the living entity must be ready and fit enough to receive the divine grace. Also, as a result of individual different karmas, one evolves into different stages of life. But Krishna is quick in directing one to take the right means, upaya, when that person becomes ready. Sometimes we hear that God feels really sorry on seeing the suffering of humanity. If that is the case, isn't it that He also behaves like us in similar way, happiness and distress? Then how can He be greater than us? We should know that God is beyond all joy and sorrow that we experience, but is exhibiting the same is to show a kind of sympathy with His devotees. One cannot equate that to our sorrows and joys. A doubt may arise in our mind. God is all-powerful, all-knowing. How can we who are sinful, fit to be punished, will ever get God's mercy? How can we even attain the Lord? How can He grant moksha to us? The Lord has unlimited, immeasurable, auspicious qualities. Out of that, couple of principal qualities are jnana and shakti. He knows everything. He is aware of our faults and our merits, papa and punya. Since He is also powerful, no doubt He can inflict punishment on us or award rewards on us. Yes, His jnana and shakti are useful in punishing or in rewarding us. But His karunya, compassion, is exclusively useful for showing His grace on the sinner who surrendered unto Him. Another question is, now that we are surrendered, does it mean that we should not do any other activities? Simply stay like a rock, wait for Lords to take us? Or should we do something after surrendering? If we do something, that means we are engaging in some activities. Then how can we call ourselves to be surrendered soul? We should understand what the meaning of surrender. One who surrendered need not do anything for the purpose of securing moksha, to attain the spiritual world. The surrendered soul doesn't need to go and look for additional means by which he is guaranteed to attain the Lord. That does not mean he give up his spiritual practices. One must continue their anushtanam to please the Lord. They must not be performed as a means to attain the Lord. They are done as a service to please the Lord. Another question may arise. Does it mean that because one has done prapatti, sharanagati, he is entitled for liberation, moksha? The answer is yes and no. Without doing sharanagati or bhakti, one cannot secure moksha, and one is definitely entitled to attain the Lord. But this does not mean that because one is surrendered, that itself grants moksha. It is the Lord's sankalpa. His will is responsible for one to attain Him or not. And for this reason that we went through a long section on acharya abhimana, where one surrendered to the Lord through an acharya, their liberation is guaranteed. God is like mother. He has the responsibility to nourish His children. The child has nothing to do. We never seen a newly born baby asking for new dresses. asking the parents the means by which they are going to take care of him. Therefore, the question is, it is mother's responsibility to nourish the child. The child has nothing to do, is it not? Well, true. But even in this case, in this example, the child has to put its mouth to the breast of the mother before she could feed the child. Initiation, a surrendering process, is like this and has to be done to receive the complete mercy of the Guru Parampara going up to Krishna. Let's pause here and we'll continue with more common questions that may arise around this topic in our next session. Thank you. Hare Krishna.